Ghostly greetings and howling at our boy Prue. How you doing today? Ghostly greetings, man. Big shout out to everyone who subscribed. Thank you so much. I always appreciate it. My goal is to get to 100. 100 would be epic, sirs. Another shout out to Timmy, who I finally have a beverage up in my inner sanctum. I normally don't drink up here, but Timmy, every one of his videos has a beverage. So Lost Cunningham, to you. And to Rachel's Reading Revelations, who is a recent subscriber, thank you so much for your support. I liked a bunch of your videos. I might share those on other social media sites if you don't mind. Comment below if you're cool with that. Comment on a few of them too, people. She's great. But here we go. Top 5 science fiction, modern science fiction books. These are all pretty recent. But before we get into that, I'm going to use the term nerd or geek a lot. Please don't be offended. I am a huge nerd. I consider myself a nerd. I wear my nerd badge of pride, if you will. I'm a LARPer. I'm a video game addict. I have video game tattoos. Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy. I have Shadowhunter tattoos from the Shadowhunter series. I have the Rune of Power. I'm parabatide with a buddy of mine. So, I also have some Stephen King, just because, why not? And my whole arm is covered. I have a Mulan tattoo. Well, I have a Mushu from Mulan tattoo. But I'm a super nerd. So when I use the term nerd, I use that as a term of endearment, a fellow brother in the art of nerding. So some of these will appeal to you, most definitely, you super nerds out there. But here we go. Number 5 is, of course, Ready Player One. You're asking, Pruitt, if you love this so much, why is it 5? Well, I love this so much because of the nerd references. Mechagodzilla, Ultraman, Monty Python. So a lot of the things I'm into, Ernest Cline wrote about Back to the Future, Akira Kurosawa movies. So a lot of that is in here. But the trope is we're in a virtual world and whoever solves the puzzle gets the prize. That's a trope that's done better in some books, but I like the writing better in this because of it appeal to my nerd taste. So there you go. Number 5, Ready Player One. I fucking loved it. My favorite character was Daito. He's a big Japanese guru nerd like me. Love me some Kurosawa films too, brother. That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a nerd fun day right there. If you're into it, that's great. Next, we're going to do a 180. We're going to get to nerd serious. This is a serious political series of books. The Expanse. James A. Corey, Leviathan Wakes. I really like The Expanse. I think that is a massively good tome. That does wonders. That's a good thing to do. I really like the characters and how it went from like detective story to rebellion story to detective story to political story. It kept me, whatever, it wasn't the same genre of book it felt like the whole time. Like whenever I was like, oh, it's a detective story. Oh no, it's a rebellion story. Oh no, it's a little bit of a political thriller because different characters that the book went to their point of view had different things going on at different times. So it never got dry. So the Expanse series, I'm only not all the way through yet, but I'm into it. And I'm into it enough to tell you, this is amazing. It's Game of Thrones in space, done a little better. I love Game of Thrones, but I thought it got a little wordy. But it's all in one setting. Like, it's all the same medieval stuff. This one went from, like, the Expanse went from a detective story to, like, combat action to, like, space politics. Where it was basically politics and fighting and no detective story. So I got a little bit more variety in that series. Number 3 is, again, a hard sci-fi, if you will. More science than fiction, or more sci than fi, as I say. Andy Weir's The Martian. I loved this so much. There is a movie. The movie is awesome. But basically, the book and the movie have one principle. Dude gets left behind on Mars and has to figure out how to live. Now, that sounds basic as fun. It's dude stuck on a desert island, but your desert island's a million miles away in space with no water or air. So it's cool. And that premise alone sold it. But if you think about it, it's pretty basic. Like, what do you mean, how's the dude survive? He's got to grow food and get water, but you got to do that on Mars. So there you go. I enjoyed it. Now, the next two are two of my favorite books of all time. So I'm going to count them together. Meg, Meg is not quite science fiction. It's more of a summer blockbuster in book form. But the shark science, the marine biology, the submersibles going to the Marianas Trench and understanding the pressure and body temperatures and stuff. Excuse me. That is awesome. I really enjoyed the science, but the science was just there for show. The book is about a giant fucking shark that eats people. It's a giant shark book. You read this camp and you read this by the pool. This is a summer blockbuster in book form. It's lovely. I enjoyed the shit out of it. It's probably my favorite read in recent years. I can reread this. I've reread this twice now. I love it. It's so good. That's amazing. But that's amazing. Pick that up. Pick that up. There's two things I want you to do with this movie. Pick that up and the next one. But number one is not a book. It's a person, a writer of science fiction. And that'd be Michael Crichton. I've said a few times I love Michael Crichton. I'm sorry, that Pepsi's really gave me some indigestion. But Michael Crichton, his whole catalog is amazing. I don't own it all, but I own a lot of it over there. But this is Jurassic Park. You know what Jurassic Park is about. You've seen the movie. You've got to have seen Jurassic Park. Question, what's your favorite dinosaur? My favorite dinosaur is a toss-up between Ankylosaurus and Pachycephalosaurus. I like things that use their head. But this, Michael Crichton, his whole library is good, but Jurassic Park, every kid I knew growing up, every boy I knew growing up was infatuated with dinosaurs, loved dinosaurs, dinosaur obsession. And this brought him to life in an adult form with a sort of scientific way that you're like, oh shit, this could happen. And I loved it. And it was amazing. And I read this book, and it blew the movie out of the water, and I read the second book, and it was totally different than the movie. And then I read Congo, and I just kept reading his stuff, and his stuff, Mike Crichton, is fucking amazing. Everything he did was fucking 5 stars. There's 2 or 3 I gave 4 stars to. But mostly it's all 5 stars. Another thing, though, that really impressed me, sometimes you'll get a sequel, but most of the time it's one and done. Writes a standalone story, and then you can put it up on the shelf and just think about it and enjoy it when you can, because all of his stuff that he's done in the 90s, a lot of his books were turned into bad movies, though. So that kind of sucks. I do like Congo, the movie, even though it's a shit movie, but I enjoy it. I don't know. But Michael Crichton is the best science fiction writer of my time. I love Isaac Asimov. I love Robert Heinlein. I love, Richard Morgan, fucking Frank Herbert. But Michael Crichton is, I feel like I grew up with him in the 90s and 2000s. So 20 years, that guy's been putting out work. He sadly passed in 2006. But for 20 years, I enjoyed his books. And I'm going to continue enjoying them. So Mike Crichton, thank you for your contribution to modern science fiction literature. So please, I feel like he's underrated. Check him out. That's been it, though. That's been my 5 modern science fiction books. Jurassic Park, amazing. Book about a shark, amazing. How to Survive on Mars, amazing. Game of Thrones in Space, amazing. Nerd Bible, awesome. There you go. It's been your boy Prue, and stay creepy. But on a serious note, I recently found out a friend of mine got tested for COVID and it came back positive. So now I am in quarantine in the nerd cave for at least 2 weeks. So you're probably going to get a bunch of views and movies and all that junk coming at you. So there you go. It's been great. It's been your boy Prue. Stay creepy.